Hi everyone, so ever since I moved into this apartment, I've been getting asked to do some sort of apartment tour, so I'm gonna finally go ahead and do that. I actually sort of have no choice but to do it right now because it's Wednesday. I moved back home Saturday, finished my first year of grad school, and then I moved to Connecticut for the summer for an internship. Side note, if you've been to Connecticut, let me know what there is to do there or what you recommend. I'm pretty sure I've driven through it multiple times, but I've never actually stopped there before. So I have lived in this little studio. It's, I think, about 300 square feet for almost a year, and I have to say I have adored living here. For my internship, I'm going to be living in sort of a condo with 3 other interns, and it's going to be an adjustment because I've just found I really adore living alone, which should not have been a surprise to me. I also will point out, I know a lot of people say in the YouTube community not to film house tours and not to film apartment tours just because people can see where your valuables are and the layout of your home, so it's just not really smart. In general, I would completely agree with that, but considering I have no valuables and it's one room you can see pretty much entirely from any of my videos, you know, there's not really a layout to get to know. It's just a box with me in it. I also will point out, and I get questions about this a lot, people ask, where is your kitchen? Do you just use the microwave and toaster oven? Honestly, 90% of the time, yes. But one reason I think this housing is so cheap is the fact that even though it's not student housing, it is an apartment complex. There's 1 kitchen per floor, which is weird, I know. I asked you guys how you wanted me to film this, and pretty much everybody said they wanted me to film it in the format of tips for living in a studio. So I filmed this in the format of 5 tips for living in a studio, so let's go ahead and get started. So because studios are in general really small, you want to think of ways to make them look bigger and also bring in as much light as possible. So a good way to do that is to just put mirrors opposite your window. So I have one over my bed and then I have another one on my door, and both of these are opposite the window, which brings in a lot of light, and I think they're both just $10 from Walmart or something like that. So with a studio, it's good for all of your furniture to be somehow multi-purpose just because you don't have a ton of room. So first we have my vanity, which also acts as my desk. So I think half the drawers are things like makeup and hair care and things like that, and then half of them you can see are also for school. So even things like my coffee table also open up for more storage. Even though I am sort of painfully organized, this is my one junk drawer, and I should probably get that handle fixed at some point. I found this old antique stand at an antique market, and it was originally pretty cruddy, so I spray painted it blue, and now up top I keep my coffee, in the middle I have my printer, and then down below I have a poor man's alcohol stand, which as you can see I'm running very low on. You also want to think of ways to separate your one room into different areas. So one way you can do that is with things like an open bookshelf. This was literally trash someone was throwing out, so I refinished it, and now it separates sort of the bedroom area from the living room area. I've seen people do things like hang cloth from ceiling to separate a studio, but I think that makes a tiny room even more claustrophobic. Rugs are another good way to separate the room. So here's one in my sad excuse for a kitchen, and then I have another one in my living room type area, and both of these are really cheap. I really like them, and I think I found them at IKEA. A small place can start to feel like hoarders really quick if you have tons of decorations, so I try and keep the decorations, particularly on the walls, really minimal just so it doesn't feel claustrophobic. So there are a couple of maps from places I've lived and traveled. There's Tuxedo Mask and Sailor Venus hanging out, then I'm a little pizza obsessed, so I have a pizza sign, and then nothing else really on this wall, just so that overall the room feels a lot more open than it actually is. So one of the hardest parts of a studio is making it not just look like one giant bedroom. So I think one of the best things you can do is get a bed that's lower to the ground so you don't just see a giant bed when you're walking into the room. This one was perfect because it's low to the ground but also has tons of storage. I found it at Walmart and it was super cheap. I'll put the link below. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful for any of you who either are living in a studio or are thinking about moving into one. If you have any tips for living in a tiny apartment or just living and decorating on the cheaper side, be sure to put those tips down below, and I will see you guys soon.